1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I see myself on my laptop, so I hope you see me too. So please confirm, please tell me if something will be wrong with audio or some other issues. Hello everybody. So today I will stream implementing a bot for terminal game. So we will write some AI that is usually a bunch of ifs, and for sure some people here don't know much about this competition. Like I myself don't know everything about it, so we'll start by checking out the official video, and also a big part of today's stream will be just running some games between bots and seeing what happens and thinking what we should do. So let's start by checking out their 2-minute video about the game.
Hello, welcome to Terminal. You've been granted full access to modify and deploy your own algorithms to complete in the Terminal global arena. Here's some helpful information to get you started.
By the way, I wonder how much effort, like time and money, went into this competition. Usually contests, even if they have a few problems and of course they are organized well, still this is some
Terminal is a
television
two-player
level
strategy game.
Video.
The objective is to advance information units to your opponent's edge, while using firewalls to defend your own edges against enemy information. In Terminal, there are 2 types of pieces at your disposal: information units and firewalls. First, information units. The pieces you use to score. Deployed from one of your edges, information units attempt to advance across the board. Each time one of your units successfully reaches your opponent's far edge, your opponent loses 1 health point. There are 3 types of information units: pings, EMPs, and scramblers. Each type of unit has different attributes for speed, stability, damage, and range. Firewalls are your defensive pieces, stationary units that stop your opponent from scoring against you. The 3 types of firewalls are filters, encryptors, and destructors. And like information units, they have different attributes to help you win. Between each turn, players are rewarded with additional bits and cores, which they can use to deploy new information units and firewalls. Players decide where and how many new units to place on the board, and then the turn starts, and all action is determined by the game engine until the turn ends. If your health reaches 0, you are eliminated and the match is over. For more information about the rules inside Terminal, or for documentation on building your algorithm, visit the Rules and Doc tab on the Terminal site. Good luck!
Okay, so
Units.
I think let's stop on, let's say, this image. So basically it's a 2-player tower defense where we put our own towers in our territory, and at the same time we send some offensive units against our opponent,
And all action
so it's like symmetrical tower defense
is
game,
determined by the game engine until the turn.
and we have some money to spend on towers, we have some separate money to spend on minions that we send against an opponent, and maybe it's good to send them in like waves, not to just, you have enough money to buy 1 unit and you buy this 1 unit and set it against your opponent. Likely it will die and not do much damage against your opponent, so the whole thing will be how to batch them in order to create a big wave and strike your opponent. Yeah, I wonder how many of you guys are already competing, and from where, by the way, you learned about this stream, whether it was from Codeforces or maybe terminal website or email. I just wonder what way of reaching people turned out to be successful. And here we can run our own game. A lot of times today we will be running a game we will try playing by hand to see what makes sense, but also we can run two given algorithms against each other. Let's try that. I wonder whether there is some sound in game. Okay, so I think we will always be a blue player, and an example game looks like this. Let's speed it up a little bit. So those units, so minions, fight with each other but also destroy towers, and that's roughly it. Now next thing we'll do is quickly go through docs in order to see what type of units there are, what types of towers there are, and later I guess we'll modify the basic algorithm. Codeforces, terminal email, Codeforces, CodeBullet. No, I wondered whether there will be someone from CodeBullet. So I guess you are like, you watch that channel, but if yes, then anyway, how did you learn about me? Because I don't think I don't have much to do with that channel, I think. By the way, I learned about this game, this challenge, also from CodeBullet. I'm not like a regular watcher. I think I've seen some of his videos in the past, like maybe months ago, because they are kind of viral. For those who don't know CodeBullet, he makes like AI, how is it called? An approach to AI with generations that you spawn, and thanks to this, the program learns to play a game like Mario. And CodeBullet like announced this game, and from this I learned about a game in some Discord chat where someone said about CodeBullet tournament. Okay, so here we have, also I will paste a link to a competition here in the chat. So what do we have here? We have some game story background. I think it's slightly confusing because instead of just saying health and money, they use some strange names like information, edges, firewalls, bits, cores. I think that's just confusing, so we will stick to some names like health points and money, metal. So what is important? This is a grid on which we play, and we can send our own units from our edge. So like the first vertical, not straight line here and here. We from this send our units, and they go in the opposite direction, like across all the grid to the opposite side. And if they reach, for every unit that reaches that side, your opponent loses 1 health point. And I think we start with 30 health points, and going to 0 means losing. And anywhere in our own half we can put towers. Some of those towers don't shoot, they are just like blocks, I would say, like if in Age of Empires or some other strategies where we just can put cheap blocks in order to create maybe a long corridor where opponent units would have to go through, or just block some side. And a crucial thing is that So by default, enemy units go through all the grid to the opposite side, but if we block that, it follows some different pattern. So we don't control our units once they are created. Instead, there is some fixed algorithm for that, and I'm sure we can abuse that and maybe fix enemy units to always go through some small place corridor where a lot of our towers would be. Okay, so this is a map. It has some coordinates. We'll care about that much when we implement everything. Each player starts with 25. I think the name used by organizers themselves is metal. I think metal for towers instead of cores, and money for units. Tell me someone from already playing a game if I'm mistaken. So 25 metal and 5 money and 30 health points. And from this we already can buy some towers and some units. And every turn we gain some more metal and money, but in order to kind of penalize us for just not doing everything, not buying units and waiting for one huge wave, we lose a small part of our money for which we buy units at the end of every turn. I think it should be somewhere around here. So every turn we are given 4 metal and 5 money, plus every 10 turns we get an additional unit of money. So I guess late in the game we get a lot of money every turn. Also, player gains 1 unit of metal for every damage dealt to their opponent's health. So it's rewarding, maybe in the beginning, to try to risk something, to just make your opponent lose a few points, and this should give us a little bit of advantage. Okay. Where is that decay? Okay, so every turn a player automatically loses 1/3 of all bits stored from the previous turn, so 1/3 of our money. That seems a lot. I don't know how frequently. Because of that, we should at some moment decide how frequently we should put waves to attack our opponent. And every turn is our money is updated, and then we have deploy phase when we put new units and new towers, and our opponent does that at the same time. I think we have like milliseconds or maybe a second for that. So far we will not worry about running time. Also we can't, for half the initially spent money we can sell a tower. Are we going to talk about the setup, etc.? Maybe a little bit. So I've already installed a game, so I've downloaded what has to be downloaded. I can say a few words about that. Initially, I planned, by the way, to not know anything about the game, so to just start right now the first stream with zero information about it, and to like learn together with you. But I was afraid that, for example, something wouldn't work with installation, and I would be stuck for half an hour, what wouldn't be fun for sure. Okay, after the deploy phase, we have action phase, when everything happens automatically. So the game here, it's described what pattern is followed by everything. For example, for every unit we know in what direction it will go. It does something like go to a closest cell on the opposite edge, where edge is like there is a square grid and it has 4 edges. and otherwise it does something else. Also, every turn, like we have whole turns of games. So this is one big turn where we have that money update phase, deploy phase, action phase. But also in one turn, when we already deployed units, so we chose where to put new units on our edge, and they will start going to the opposite side. Then there are like mini turns, I don't know how to call them. Here it says that, they are frames. So frames are very small turns. And every frame is described for every unit and tower whom it would attack. It does something like a tower first prioritizes, so first tries to attack the closest unit, and in case of a tie, a unit with smallest remaining health. So health here is called stability, what is another thing that, in my opinion, is a mistake because it's only misleading. So after both players have chosen which units they wish to deploy, the game engine deploys information in firewalls, so towers and units. Then, based on its movement and targeting logic, detailed later, the game automatically controls each player's units for the duration of the action phase. So until all the units die or reach the opposite side, everything happens automatically. We don't control units. And the game ends either if we are at turn 100 or if some player lost all the health. One more thing, please suggest me if so I can always adjust the size of a website. So if, for example, someone watches in smaller resolution and I should, for example, make it slightly larger here, font larger, then just tell me, I will do that. Okay, resources, we have two kinds of resources, bits and cores, so respectively money and metal. And here it just said that we have 4 more metal every turn, and it isn't decayed in any way, so it isn't wasted between 2 turns. So theoretically we can wait with building towers forever, but likely we will want to spend all the money every turn because it strengthens our defense and we don't want to lose health. And money is reduced by 1/3 every turn, so this is something we should worry about. Then we have types of units. Okay, a little bit larger. Here we go. So later I think I will work with 2 windows next to each other, so maybe then I will have to make fonts smaller because window will be smaller, but so far we can go this way. So here we have some drawings, I think. We have 3 types of units, so those that move. We have a ping, that is the most basic unit. It's cheap, it doesn't do a lot of damage, and it's fast. So we have, what parameters do we have? We have stability, that is health. So we have like basic unit with health 15, damage 1, what is a very small damage here, range 3, and speed half. So range is just how close it has to be to something of some opponent unit or tower to attack it. And when our unit is in range, like when some enemy is in range, every turn it will be attacked by our unit. In games like this, it's very important to think about ranges, because sometimes the best possible strategy will be to outrange your opponent. If some of you competed in battle code competition, it was more visible there, because there were units that were just how is it called, melee knights that only attack adjacent cells, while also there were some rangers that attacked with huge range. So it wasn't a stupid strategy to just build those rangers, to just build units that have the biggest possible range, and then if you have a lot of them, before enemy gets to you, you already kill half of his army. So maybe not usually, but often ranged units are overpowered in games or competitions like this. Okay, we have then EMP. EMP is expensive and easily destroyed, but has the greatest range of all units and can wreak havoc on enemy defenses if properly used. So here we see health 5 instead of earlier 15. So it's really how is it called? Fragile. Damage 3, so I think larger than ping, but range 5, what is more than 3 of course, and speed 0.25, so it's 2 times slower. So ping will be basic, cheap, and fast unit. Also, price is here, it's 1 bit, 1 money, and EMP costs 3. And we have the last type of unit, it's a Scrambler. Scrambler is a high stability, high damage unit that strongly disrupts enemy information units, but cannot target firewalls. Firewalls are towers. So why this unit isn't OP? Well, first let's go through stats. Health 40, so by far the biggest health. Damage 10, what is also huge, by far the biggest one. Range 3. So the same as ping, but smaller than EMP, and speed same as EMP. So only ping is 2 times smaller than the rest, and EMP and Scrambler are slower. Okay, and this is cheap. I think it's very important to notice that this one costs 1 bit, and only this high-ranged unit costs 3 bits. So it looks very expensive, but it makes sense because units with big range usually are overpowered. Okay, so this is kind of our, I would say, tank, but also tank that does huge damage to enemy towers, but only to, not to towers. It can only target information. Scrambler can only target enemy units. So thing is that if you only use Scramblers, so these like tanks with huge damage, they will not destroy enemy towers at all. So they are from this, it might be a good idea, I think, to put one tank before our like EMP ranged unit, because then tank gets damage, like it absorbs damage because it's a tank, well, and thanks to this our fragile unit with 5 health can live a bit longer and can do its own damage to enemy towers. And that's about it. Also, when we go through units like this, it's good to think if we can just see a strategy that uses, like a simple strategy that uses one unit and nothing more. So maybe it's good sometimes to use just pings. Let's think when. Well, I would say that if opponent doesn't have good defenses, then ping as a fast unit, maybe we can afford a lot of pings at the same time, and they are faster, so maybe they can go through enemy towers, maybe not destroying it, because here we have small damage, but just go to the enemy edge quickly and give us a few points, meaning enemy will lose some health. So maybe, for example, at the end, or at the moment when the enemy has only 1 health point, or something like that, it's good to just forget about destroying enemy towers and just put a lot of these fast units. Which keyboard and mouse do I use? I don't know a model. I don't use good keyboard or mouse. If I remember correctly, this keyboard, this Logitech keyboard, I bought because ACM ICPC finals use the same keyboard. So, and we wanted to practice. So it's just a standard keyboard that is used in many offices, and it is like extremely comfortable, but we practiced a lot for finals of that competition. And mouse is just some other random Logitech mouse. Okay, we went through units, and they have different shapes, so it should be easier to distinguish between them on the map. So we have this small, fast, cheap unit. This long arms unit is EMP that is high ranged but fragile, and we have this tank that is indeed like bulky. Now let's go to towers. Between towers we have unit movement, pathing, and targeting logic. Well, we can leave that for later. Okay. No, now towers. So we have a very small, basic, and cheap tower that is called filter, and it only has health, so 60 of health. And as I said, it's similar to Age of Empires like walls, where you only put that cheaply to block some areas or to make it can be a tank for your real damage dealing towers, because it's cheap, it has a lot of health, and it can absorb the damage. Then we have encryptor that is costs 4 metal. It has 2 times more health, but it deals some damage, or it doesn't. Okay, so it's some support tower. Encryptors provide additional stability once to friendly information units that pass within range. This bonus decays over time. So we'll read the details later, but it's a support tower that makes your friend units, like your own units in the area, stronger. Well, stronger here means they have more health, but it decays over time. So usually if something is a support and does like a constant bonus, gives a constant bonus once you pass close to it, then maybe you would put it like far in your own territory. But here it decays over time. So likely if we want to use this support tower, we must put it close to the border between our and enemy territory, because this is likely where the most fights will happen. Also, where our own units go to the enemy territory, they should be supported, strengthened as late as possible, because the bonus decays. And I guess important thing to remember in the future is that this tower gives 10 extra health to our friend unit. It's a one-time thing, so we just want our unit to go close to this tower once. It isn't healing, it's just one-time bonus. So what is important to remember is that our ranged unit EMP was very fragile. It had stability of 5, so health of 5. And now we see that with this one support tower we can triple its health. So while, for example, for this tank, going from health 40 to 50 isn't that big of a deal. So maybe it isn't completely correct to say, but I think it's a good estimate to think by what ratio we increase some value when we upgrade units in any game. And upgrading from health 100 to 110 is nothing. Upgrading from 5 to 15 is triple the health. So not really triple the value of unit, but it should be very important. So we had 2 towers so far. Filter, that is just a block, a wall, and encryptor, that is a support tower. The last tower is destructor, that is one like real tower that deals deals damage. Stability 75, so stability 75, so something similar to this wall thing. Sorry for scrolling. So wall had 60, but its cost was only 1. Here we have a destructor that has stability slightly bigger, but costs 3 times that. Damage 4 and range 3. So it has the exactly same range as standard units, but it's outranged by the EMP. So if you have a lot of EMPs, then maybe you can go through enemy lines without taking any damage. So maybe EMP are overpowered. Well, but they are expensive unit. They cost 3, while other units cost 1. And maybe the best defense against them will not be towers, because the towers are, maybe they will turn out kind of expensive, but maybe this tank unit that only attacks other units, since it has huge damage, it has damage 10, it should wreck EMPs once they are in range. Because like without any support towers, this scrambler, so the tank, can one-hit EMP, while EMP needs more than 10 hits to kill a scrambler. So it's some idea we should be aware of. And that's it. We also have instruction how to upload our algorithm and documentation. We will of course need documentation for when implementing a solution, an algorithm. Here we have some like small dictionary, what is what. For example, filter is that cheap tower. Firewall are towers. Okay, and with that knowledge, let's move to the playground again to try something. Can someone help me to set this up? Well, while watching this stream, I think it isn't important for you to have it installed on your computer. There is some forum here, and whenever someone has an issue, I saw organizers to be very helpful with that, and indeed organizers respond quite quickly and will help you. I myself use Ubuntu, and the only issue I had when I downloaded this like whole thing to run algorithms locally was that my Java wasn't updated enough, so I just had to like update JDK or something to 11, and it was some old version before, and then it worked. So this was only my issue. Okay, also some additional stuff about it. I'm not very well organized. I didn't prepare a list of things to talk about at the beginning, so I will just say a few random sentences about the competition. The main one has a price of $10,000, and it lasts to 21st of December, so till the end of year, and we can see a leaderboard for that. And here in this leaderboard we can see ELO rating. So it isn't like a tournament where if you played battle code there, it was a tournament where 1 or maybe 2 loses means you are out. Here there, or maybe it wasn't the case in battle code, I don't remember. And here your algorithm, I think, will play tens or maybe hundreds of games. So it might affect your strategy a little bit. One thing, of course, is that it's less randomized. Likely, in some way, the best algorithm will win. The other thing is that if it's a tournament where one lose means you're out, then like you will play only a small number of matches, and after a few first matches, if you pass them, you will start encountering strong opponents, and you must for sure maximize your chances against strong opponents. The thing with games is often that for some strategy there is a counter strategy. So maybe you will write some algorithm that is very smart, adaptive, and it wins most of the time, but there you see a counter strategy against it. You see that if an opponent does something like this, it's very strange, but he can, then you lose. And if it's a tournament, you shouldn't worry that much about it, because the biggest danger for you is matches against other highly, let's say, rated opponents. And you should maximize your chances against other smart algorithms similar to yours, assuming you have a smart kind of adaptive algorithm. While in ELO rating, ELO leaderboard, you should make sure that you win with all the weak guys, because a big bunch of ELO rating comes from matches not necessarily with similar level. Of course, after some time, most of matches you play are against similar level opponents, but still, losing against some low-rated opponents can hurt you a lot in ELO, while in tournament, likely you will not meet them because you only play a few matches. This is this main competition, but also there are some smaller competitions. Let's only ongoing competition, and here two of them are some local ones. I think only for some university. Here so IIT sounds like India and Michigan. And we have one open competition that is organized by Code Bullet, and it lasts up to 25th, so we have one more week for that, and it has some smaller prize. Okay, what I also saw was in the forum there was something like match of the week. Okay, here we go. So we can watch some match that was highlighted by organizers, or maybe I'm not sure if this guy is an organizer. Cześć Kamil, hi Patrick Psycho, but please let's keep it in English. We have some highlighted game, so we can expect it to be on some level, like non-zero level. We can speed it up. So apparently here one person built some towers in the first turn. Like these are the smallest towers, those just blocks, walls. He destroys them in the second turn, and then he doesn't use any walls and just doesn't use any towers and just use units. I don't see disadvantage of even putting one tower in your territory. I don't see why he wouldn't have that, because metal and money are separate. So when you send some offensive units, you still can build towers. It doesn't hurt you. Also, because he already did some damage to his opponent, he has some extra metal units, some extra metal to build towers. So here this pink guy has more than 40 metal, now 45, and he could build a lot. What is also important here to notice is that, okay, he seems to only buy tanks, so how is it called, scramblers, and they are very good to fight against enemy units. So his logic is that, at least here, when blue guy only made this small passage, all units from both sides will go through this place, and at maybe in similar time, because the speed is similar, maybe blue guy could outrun pink guy with those fast units. But if the units meet at the same place and one of them is tank, then he should lose. He should win, because we already said that tank does a lot of damage to enemy units. He can one-hit EMP. So yeah, here blue unit don't seem to ever reach the enemy side. So indeed towers aren't important. I wonder whether the first turn was important here, because some algorithms can be adaptive, and maybe blue guy saw this way to put walls by pink guy and did something according to that. But he didn't recognize that then towers were destroyed. Let's see how this match ends. Of course, later in game, blue seemed to have much better defense, so he stops pink units. On the other hand, with time we have more and more money for units every turn, so pink is able to create more units every turn. I think if he has so many metal, what he should do now is put those support towers somewhere around here, and he would make his units like indestructible with so much metal, so much support. Because those support units, if I'm not mistaken, work in such a way that if you put two support towers next to each other, each of them will give this one-time bonus of 10 health, and it stacks. So if you put 10 support towers, you can boost your health to 100 and up. And it will affect, here we can see that when you hire units on your edge, you can buy a lot of them at the same place. I'm not sure if you can buy units of different types in the same place. But here we see like 14 units hired of the same type, tank, scrambler. And those support towers, I think, will affect all of them. So suddenly you will have 15 tanks with health like 150, what should be impossible to destroy, I would say. For sure not with this defense. I don't know if there are more matches, like replays like this, that we can watch to analyze. I saw in Twitch, a game like with commentary from organizers. If someone is able to find it, it would be nice. How is it called? Maybe Terminal 1? I'm sure that I saw something like that. But searching for terminal doesn't work. Can you please keep this live stream online? I don't understand. It's online. If you mean that you want to watch it later, it will be possible. So it will just be